Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for diehard Houston sports fans from a diehard Houston sports fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan, podcaster, at least the one that you're listening to right now. I'm a frustrated writer, frustrated baseball fan, and creative multi-hyphenate. Of course, I'm a Houston native and I have the receipts to prove it, but as surely as Shepard turns into Durham, I was destined to move out west to be a creative type. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer out here in Los Angeles, and now I'm podcasting. That's what happens once you hit 10 years out here. You turn vegan overnight and you're given a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. This is what my brother Jesse calls the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey brother, check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, but this is the podcast version of that. I started Space Cadet Sports as a passion project because honestly most media was very infuriating for me as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Everywhere was either an Astros doom and gloom fan blog or podcast, or worse, the national media haters. So we try not to do that here. We try to love our teams and root them on, but we also want to discuss the ins and the outs of the team without too much homerism. Keyword we try here. We try to be reasonable and not too hot-takey or reactionary. And now that football season is here, we also talk some Texans. This is a double stuff episode of the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. We are recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles. I'm joined as always by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me. She may get on mic from time to time, as frequent listeners of the podcast know. She has the hot takes on this podcast. On this episode, we're going to recap the Astros series versus the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. We're going to look at what happened with the Houston Texans game today and take a peek at the magic numbers, talk injuries, and maybe even stop by Dynamo Corner. A lot to get to on this double stuff episode of the podcast. So strap in, cadets. This is going to be a little bit of a longer one. I'm working on these longer ones, folks. I'm trying to keep them within that hour range. But some people like long podcasts. Some people have a long drive to work in traffic. Some people have a long bus or train ride. Some people, some people just want to listen to stuff when they clean. I don't know. What do y'all do out there? Let me know. Reach out to me on SpeakPipe and let me know what you do when listening to the podcast here. You can reach out at speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports to leave a voicemail for the podcast. Before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of today's episode, I know I said we have a lot to get to, and I'm already going off on one of my famous tangents here. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Cousin Terry. Cousin Terry, reoccurring listeners know she's a huge fan of the podcast. Also, my cuz, so we always love our cousins who support us. Cousin Terry has always been a huge support my entire existence of being a human being, but as being a creative type person, she has always supported me and always helped me out. And for those of you For those of you who don't know, the Space Cadet Sports Substack is free. I like to make sure that anybody who wants to listen to the podcast or the blog gets plenty of content for free. There's been plenty of times that I just can't afford something like The Athletic or anything like that. So this is a passion project. I do this for the love of the game. But you got to be honest nowadays. This is a lot of content to be producing. So I do have it out there on the Substack that you can support. I try to keep those very reasonably priced for people who do want to support. I don't expect it. This is like I said, I've spent a whole career creating things for money. This is what I'm creating for fun because I love it, because I love the Astros. So, I'm trying to create a wonderful experience for those of you who are listening to the podcast and reading the blog. But the whole point of it is to create it because I love it. However, it does take up a lot of time. I do need a lot of equipment. I need bandwidth. There's things to pay for. So if you do want to support the podcast, there are multiple ways to do that. And Cousin Terry obviously has supported me so much. I don't expect, if you're out there in your family, you've supported me so much, I don't expect any extra support. But Cousin Terry paid for a year subscription to the podcast, to the blog, to get, unlike all the content, to enter into a raffle at the end of the year. We're a small production here. There's not a lot that I can give you in terms of perks when I want this to be a primarily free thing for most people. So this is just a way to support me. You're buying some extra treats for Carla, Cousin Terry. Thank you for that. Every time the Astros hit a home run, Carla gets a treat. So Carla loves watching Astros games. It's been a tough year for Grand Slams. It hasn't been the best slugging year, but she loves those home runs. So just thank you, Cousin Terry. Thank you to everybody who listens and supports by just listening, sharing, subscribing. Whatever you're doing out there is very much appreciated. But Cousin Terry, thank you. This really, it means so much to me as a person. That I have people out there that support and love me. I'm a rich man. I truly, truly am. I'm rich in friends and family and support. So thank you so much, Cousin Terry. I love you. It's hard to do this all season long. So getting this love towards the end of the season, it keeps me going. It's keeping me going strong. I'm feeling motivated to come here on the podcast and bring some energy and to brighten Houston's day after a tough sports day, fans. Oh, it has been a tough Sunday for H-Town, that's for sure. The Texans dropping a game to the Minnesota Vikings in not the most watchable fashion. Houston Astros today, obviously, they won the series versus the LA Angels of Anaheim, but they lost a tough one today with a blown save by Josh Hader. But that's what I'm here for, folks. When you have a tough sports day in Houston, come to me. If you're angry, there's plenty of podcasts for you to listen to. If you're an angry person that just wants to be angry all the time, there's plenty of things for you there. We're going to be frustrated. Trust me, I'm not happy. But we try to be reasonable in times like this. The Houston Astros have given us a golden era of unprecedented winning. I'm not ready to drag the team for one loss that we can afford to lose, sadly, kind of realistically, I guess I should say. We could afford to lose, but there's multiple things to talk about today besides just dragging a team for one loss in baseball. Even if you win 100 games in baseball, you lose 62. It's a long season. There's lots of losing. Being a baseball fan is about taking the long ride to the end of the season, not overreacting all the time, or else you're going to have a very bipolar season. And I don't say that disparagingly. I just mean in the terms of polarity, you'll be fluctuating back and forth a lot during the season if are emotionally invested on just winning or losing game by game. So let's kind of get to this. Let's kind of see how the Astros have done, what we have to talk about here. Game 1 versus the LA Angels was a close one, folks. That game on Thursday happened. This was the Big John game. Kikuchi and Big John were really the heroes of this game. Early offense and late offense were the thing in this game. Obviously, not a lot of offense to go around. So yeah, I think let's just kind of get to it here. Let's kind of get into the I guess the biggest thing in this game, already off the bat, kind of tough sledding for the Astros and Astros fans as Taylor Ward homered to left center in the top of the first against Yusei Kikuchi. So that put the Angels up 1-0. It's not like we were worried. We weren't worried. The Houston Astros panic meter here at the Space Cadet Sports Podcast has not been too out of control, even as of late when the Mariners have been hanging in there. The Astros are very much likely to, statistically very tough for them to get out of the playoffs right now. They still need to win games. They're not out of it. I'm not trying to jinx them or anything like that. I'm just saying, realistically, you're expecting the Astros to win this series. So it's not like the Padres series having them go up 1-0 is a little bit different than the Angels right now. But you have to credit these Angels. As we go on, we'll see they really put on a show at Minute Maid Park. Offense didn't happen until later in the bottom of the fourth. Jeremy Pena singled on a line drive to center field. Then Victor Caratini singled on a fly ball. Pena to... on a Yainer Diaz scored. Sorry, when Pena singled on the Diaz was already on base. I forgot to mention that. And I was like, wait a second, I thought Pena was on base. But of course, Victor Caratini singled on a fly ball. Yainer Diaz scored. Jeremy Pena got to second. That tied the game at that point in the fourth inning, 1-1. It was a long road to more offense for either team. You had to get all the way to the bottom of the eighth for some offense to happen again. In the bottom of the eighth, Jeremy Pena grounds out to second baseman. Yainer Diaz got to my notes are just completely all over the place. But there was a man on first and third. Jeremy Pena grounds out. Yainer Diaz went to second. Victor Caratini was intentionally walked. John Singleton doubled at that point. Big John put the biggest swing of the game, never too late. It's the bottom of the eighth. Big John has a big hit, his 12th double of the year. Yordan Alvarez was the runner that I was missing in my notes there. Yordan scores. Yainer Diaz scores. Caratini goes at third. The Astros are up 3-1 at the bottom of the eighth in this game, and that's all the Astros needed to win. Let's kind of get to the pitching performances in this game. Obviously, Yusei Kikuchi was great. Minute Maid Park was rocked by some Lisa Loeb. She is getting paid for all of those drops. Yusei Kikuchi struck out 9 batters in this game for 9 Lisa Loebs for this game. It was absolutely great. I mean, I think should we do a Reality Bites rewatch? I mean, you got Lisa Loeb happening for Yusei. You have Reality Bites with the Houston connection. Reality Bites was set in Houston, right? Or was it filmed in... Okay, look. I used to work at Blockbuster Video. Before IMDb, people would call me about movie trivia, but old age and the Cali lifestyle, I guess, has kind of made my memory a little forgetful. I believe Reality Bites is set in Houston. I don't think it's a thing I'm confusing for being shot in Houston. I don't know. Let me know. I'll look it up later. I'm not going to look it up on the spot. I have too many screens going right now. Oh my God, watching the Texans game, trying to watch the Texans game and the Astros game, and I was like a cross-eyed Iron Man today at the office trying to watch multiple things all at the same time. I have too many screens going on right now, so I'll look up Reality Bites and its location and its shooting location later. But if you know, reach out to me. Let me know on social media at Paul Salazar Jr. Go to the Substack or reach out on SpeakPipe. Let me know. But Yusei Kikuchi had a great game today, or on Thursday, I should say, a quality start, going 6 innings pitched, 5 hits given up, 1 run, 1 of them earned, just one walk, and 9 strikeouts, 9 Lisa Lobes on the day, giving up 1 home run. Kikuchi has been incredible. I had that meme of the Dana Brown apology form. So if you need that Dana Brown apology form, go check out the meme dumps on the Substack. We have that meme. You could fill that out to apologize to Dana Brown. But this Kikuchi trade is looking incredible. It is a rental. Three people for a rental. We can argue whether or not that's an overpay at the end of the season, but right now, we needed Kikuchi. We needed a pitcher like this, and it's so good to see him execute for the Houston Astros. He is proving his worth. He's going to have a nice contract next season, whether it's with the Houston Astros or with another team. We got way too much to talk about to really get into whether or not the Astros can re-sign Yusei Kikuchi, who has gone from a guy with targets on his back and someone that Astros fans have been watching closely to a beloved figure on the team. We can't get into that, so we're just going to move ahead. We'll get into that either on one of our articles later on the blog or another podcast. Right now, we need to check in with Paul's pen pals as we go to the bullpen. This was a good game from the bullpen here on Thursday. Hector Neris came in the 7th, got a strikeout. Nothing to report there, just a clean slate. Then Abreu came in the 8th. He picked up the win for the team. He's now 3-3 on the season. He gave up a hit, but goose eggs across the board. His successor in the 9th inning to close out the game here was Josh Hader, who came in, pitched the inning, got a strikeout, and got his 32nd save on the season in this game. Let's check in with the offense in this game. Obviously, there's not going to be a lot of offense to write about. The Astros just having enough to outlast the Angels in this game and score in the late innings. There was no Jose Altuve in this game, as Altuve had some time off to kind of rest up. That's kind of what I'm saying earlier. It's like, yes, we want to win games. Yes, the season has gone on too long, but the Astros are really banking on taking enough wins this season. So, giving Tuve a day off, they're not stressing right now. Joe Espada is not sweating. This team has not sweat or flinched once, not even in May, when everybody was panicking, except for me and Joe Espada. It was just Joe cool out there, baby. Me and Joe just taking it easy, not sweating, not panicking, maybe just on the inside. But, it was good to see Tuve be able to take a day off, get some rest, and the Astros still have enough offense to win. Bregman started this game in the lineup as a first hitter. He went 1 for 4 in the opening slot. Alvarez, sadly, he got on base with a walk, but he wasn't able to get a hit in this game. Tucker worked 2 walks but 0 hits as well. So good to see that patience from them. But it was tough sledding for them to get some hits. Yana Diaz was 1 for 4 in the game. Jeremy Pena 1 for 4. Caratini was 1 for 3 with an RBI and a walk in this game. And obviously, Big John was a hero of the game, going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. He did pick up 2 strikeouts in the game, but John Singleton making a case that he could start games even if the pitcher is left-handed. Love to see Big John go out there and have a great game. Overall, the team had 6 hits with 3 RBIs and worked 6 walks and just 6 strikeouts. So a very efficient game for the offense, even if it was very low scoring and not really getting the offensive power that you wanted to see from them. Efficiency will take. Runners with scoring position, not so efficient. This is definitely where they could have strung some hits together. They were 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position with 9 members of the team left on base. Can't complain about it too loudly because they had enough to win the game in the late innings. They focused up and did what they needed to do to win this game. In Game 2 of this series, this was the JV game on this Hispanic Heritage weekend for for the Houston Astros there. JV in that Los Astros jersey, definitely fun to see. But what wasn't fun to see was the result of this game. JV does not do. He does well enough to barely help the Astros get the win, obviously, as they won 9-7, but not well enough to consider him in the playoff rotation, truly. You can go back and you can check all my receipts. That's part of the fun and joy of having a blog and a podcast, is any crazy thing I might have said at any point in the season is just out there for people to know. There's some things I was right about, like, a couple weeks ago, the long and winding road article I wrote about the Astros' path to getting the AL West Championship again. I was like, as soon as they get to 87 wins, it's over. I think doing the math, that's what I thought. And, that seems like it's going to be fairly accurate or fairly close. Something I might not have gotten right is my faith that JV would have enough time to turn this around. Justin Verlander pitched a fairly good game, but just was not enough. Kind of struggled in the fourth and fifth innings there in this game. At this point, he knows where he's at. People make JV out to be a diva, but if you're watching all these games, he's there for his team. He is attempting to be as sharp as he can be to be able to contribute for this team in the postseason. But when he is in the dugout and on the sidelines in his off days, he is totally there cheering his team on, goofing with people, having a good time there, supporting his guys. I do think that it's a sad thing if that was Justin Verlander's last outing or last starting game at Minute Maid Park. There is a reality for that. His contract is up. The Astros have so much starting pitching. They basically have two rotations on the books right now at a major league level. They have more than enough starting pitching. Justin Verlander is obviously declining. I'm not trying to say he's washed, but I do not see a path in which the Astros re-sign Justin Verlander. And if he can't make the playoff rotation, putting two and two together, when the Astros are probably going to be on the road a lot, this playoff run, there isn't going to be a lot of opportunity for Justin Verlander to even start games at Minute Maid if he's not in the playoff rotation either. So, I was kind of wrong about the fact that I think he had enough time to do this. It does look like he is getting better. He's locating that breaking ball a lot better, able to set up that fastball, but he's definitely struggling. It was a rough end of the game for Justin Verlander in this offensive showcase for both teams. Let's kind of look at this game that was a 9-7 outcome in favor of your Houston Astros. It was one of the tougher wins of the season. It's tough when you win a game and still kind of feel crappy, but that's how this game went. And it wasn't even like I felt miserable. It just, you feel for JV. I mean, he's always been that guy for me. Yeah, so Justin Verlander, he ended up going 4 2/3 of an innings pitched in this game. Mr. Anderson has a tough second inning. There's lots of home runs in this game. Josh Hader gets his 33rd save. Lots of fun stuff from this game, but overall, that Justin Verlander start was tough to swallow. He had a good first 3 innings and fairly well, and pitched fairly well into the fourth, but he just didn't have enough to get out of the fifth. And he truly was like 1 out away from kind of skating by a tough start. If he got out of the fifth inning, I wouldn't say it was a solid start. I would say he gave us enough to win. But at some point, even in the fifth inning with 2 outs, I believe Jeff Blum, part of the broadcast team, him and TK were talking. I believe it was Blum that was saying that if he can get out of this inning, he may even have an opportunity to start pitching the 6th. At some point in this game, in the 5th inning, we were not talking about Justin Verlander as if he was completely washed. We had a lot of hope that he was figuring this game out. He just didn't have enough to get that last out. And I think, it doesn't matter, because if ifs and buts were candies and what nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, right? So if Justin Verlander was able to get out of the 5th inning, it would have been a lot better, but he was not. I just think that that he is not quite as washed as some fans are making him out to be. I do think that if he is open to coming out of the bullpen in the postseason, he could pitch well enough in this last Cleveland series to get himself a roster spot. But 4 2/3 innings pitched, giving up 8 hits, giving up 6 runs, 6 of them earned, with 1 walk and 4 strikeouts, did not feel good. Now, 2 of these runs were given up by Brian King when he came into the game in the 5th inning. He did give up 1 hit. Brian King, rookie lefty, pitched 1/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, and 2 of those runs that Justin Verlander left on the base pads for Brian King did come around on that hit. So even if he would have just even if the Astros would have got out of the inning with Justin Verlander pulled early, 4 earned runs versus 6 earned runs might have even had a different narrative that people were writing versus just that he's completely done. I do think, he's not as well off as I thought so earlier. Obviously, in the press, in his quotes, he's saying that he is still hurt, or not hurt. He was coming back early from injury. He's not in pain. He's coming back early from injury to try to push to make a push for the playoffs, but he knows what time of the year it is, and he knows the reality of the situation. Let's kind of move into the bullpen again. The bullpen had another good game, checking in with Paul's pen pals here. Brian King obviously gave up 1 hit, 0 earned runs, and zeros across the board on that 1/3 of an inning. Then Caleb Ort came in the 6th inning. He picked up his 3rd hold of the season, but he only pitched 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, picking up a strikeout, and giving way to Hector Neris, who finished off that inning. Hector Neris ended up picking up his 10th win of the season, going 1 1/3 of an inning. Pretty rocky stuff from Heart Attack Hector here, but enough to win the game. He gave up 3 hits, just gave up 1 run, obviously earned run. He picked up 3 strikeouts and gave up a home run. That's how that earned run happened there. Sometimes Hector's been giving up some home runs at Minute Maid. Heart Attack Hector, he still did not give up so much to lose the game, obviously, but it was a tough one there to see that. In the 8th inning, Presley came in and picked up his 23rd hold of the season. Presley still looking sharp, looks to put those injury concerns in the rearview mirror. He looks to be in playoff form. He got his 23rd hold, pitching the 8th, picking up 2 strikeouts there, and then in the 9th, Hader came in, picking up his 33rd save of the season, getting 2 strikeouts. So obviously solid bullpen performance. A little shaky moments there in the middle relief, but obviously enough for the Astros to win this game and not get it too close. As for the offense here, there were some home runs that we definitely have to talk about. Carlo was very happy, getting some treats from those home runs. Tuve started off the line in the lineup. He was back in the lineup, having a nice. This was a great lineup for me. It was Altuve, Alvarez, Tucker, Bregman, Diaz, Pena, Carantini, Myers, and Dubon, with Jordan DHing, Yanner playing first, and Caratini in center. This had some pretty great offensive results, not just in this game, but in the next day's game. However, in this game, Altuve was 0 for 5. Jordan was 0 for 4. He did work a walk, but he struck out 3 times. Tucker in this game definitely was one of the stars. He went 4 for 5, getting 1 RBI and scoring 3 runs. Tucker hit his 21st home run of the season in the 6th inning of Contreras for that solo bolo shot. Bregman was great too, going 2 for 5, picking up 3 RBIs, only striking out once, and picking up his 24th home run of the season on the 3rd inning off of Mr. Anderson. And Pena was 1 for 3, Caratini 1 for 4, Myers 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs on his home run in his 13th of the season in the 3rd inning, and Doobie doing good work at the bottom of the lineup, going 2 for 3 with an RBI as well. That was the second game, and moving on to the 3rd game, Los Astros ganan otra vez 10-4 Buen amigo. Just laughing. Sorry, I am not a native Spanish speaker. I am always trying to practice my Spanish, but I always goof that I'm going to be good enough to podcast in Spanish one day, but probably not today. Let's be honest. But happy to have the Los Astros have a good game. This was a Ronald Blanco game, and he was so solid. He didn't even look shaky towards the end of the game this time. Obviously, with the last JV start and a good Ronald Blanco start, he is leapfrogging JV in the Astros starting pitcher power rankings, or how you would like them to line up. He's definitely, I would say, in that fourth spot right now in the starting rotation for the Houston Astros playoffs. The reason that I don't put him higher than that is just, frankly, because his arm has been so taxed. There has been sometimes I worry about how many innings he can go, but Ronald Blanco's obviously in really good form. I just hope that he has enough innings left in the tank. In this game was also the Tucker Yordan anything you can do, I can do better game. There was a lot of early offense, and Reed Detmers must hate Minute Maid Park. The starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim had another rough outing. And of course, I probably should mention a happy hour Caratini happened in this game as well. Let's kind of look to it here. In this game, the Astros scored in every inning in the first 4 innings. So it was a lot of offense, a lot of home runs. Caratini hit his 7th home run of the season. Yordan hit his 35th, and Tucker hit his 22nd of the season. Lots of treats for my Carla here. Ronald Blanco had a solid start, getting his 12th win of the season and pitching more than 162 innings to make sure he qualifies for any kind of top of the league stat type thing at the end of the season. He's had a great season, so that's great that he's going to get his flowers there. He pitched 6 innings, giving up 7 hits. Definitely not too great, but only 2 runs and 2 of them earned, only 2 walks, and picking up 9 strikeouts while giving up 1 home run. We're going to go ahead and move on to offense a little bit, kind of talk about the game. In the bottom of the first, Yordan was on second, and Kyle Tucker doubled. That was the first anything you can do, I can do better moment where Yordan doubled, so Kyle Tucker doubled, and that got the Astros their first run of the game. In the top of the second, Logan O'Hoppe actually doubled on a line drive off of Ronald Blanco, and Mauricio Dubon had an awful throwing error. Mickey Moniak scored. So that tied the game 1-1. The bottom of the second, the Astros were coming back. Jose Altuve singles on a fly ball to center. Caratini is on third. He scores. Myers goes to third base. Dubon's at second, and Jose Altuve is at first. Yordan Alvarez is up. You're hoping maybe this is the first grand slam of the season for the Houston Astros. They have yet to hit a grand slam. It's kind of crazy the amount of bases loaded situations they've had with no home runs. But this was not a home run. It was a double play that Yordan grounded into, but the Astros were able to score a run off of it, going up 3-1 at this point in the game. Later on in the bottom of the third inning, Victor Caratini hits his happy hour Caratini, his 7th home run of the year. That brings in Jeremy Pena and Yainer Diaz, who were both on base. 3-run home run for Victor Caratini. And then, the Angels come back yet again, even though it is it is 6-1 at that point. My notes are kind of sporadic. Sorry about that, folks. But we'll keep going. Logan O'Hoppe homers on a fly ball in the top of the fourth. That brought the Angels 2-7. That 7th run. Sorry. I got too many screens going on here, folks. 7th run, but Yordan Alvarez singled later on the line drive to center. Jose Altuve scored in that bottom of the third. Then in the fourth, that solo home run. In the bottom of the fourth, Mauricio Dubon singles on a line drive, bringing Jeremy Pena home. That's now 8-2 from the Astros winning there. Bottom of the seventh, even more offense. This was a home run moment. Yordan Alvarez homered his 35th home run of the season to center field, bringing the Astros 9-2 lead at that point. And then Kyle Tucker, before we could even celebrate that home run, went up to the plate, hit his 22nd home run of the season, bringing the Astros up 10-2. Ninth inning, the Angels are able to score a couple of more runs, bringing it to 4-10 as the final score. They were able to kind of do some damage off of Seth Martinez, who was brought up from the minor leagues. Taylor Scott is now on the 15-day IL. He's dealing with a spine issue. He's been dealing with it for a little bit of time, which might explain why I was thinking he was exhausted or had a long season and he's gassed. He has had a long season and he's tired. His body's tired and needs a little bit of a break. So he's on the IL, and Seth Martinez came back up. So let's check in with Paul's pen pals to see how the bullpen did. Overall, they did okay outside of the Magic Man, Seth Martinez. Caleb Ort came in the 7th, got 2 strikeouts, gave up 0 runs. Caleb Ferguson came in the 8th. Got 3 strikeouts and gave up 0 runs. And then Seth Martinez, he just ran into a little bit of trouble in this game in the 9th inning, gave up 3 hits, good for 2 runs and 2 earned runs, but he did pick up 2 strikeouts. He was kind of called up quickly, but kind of was sent in there, I don't know what his usage was in the bullpen in Sugarland, but he did look a little shaky compared to what we know from the Magic Man, Seth Martinez. Hopefully he can bounce back, because if Taylor Scott is not in the bullpen, we need these bullpen arms to kind of solidify here, and there might be some use for Seth Martinez if we ever had a big lead in a playoff game or something like that. He's had a really good season. He's been a great contributor to the team. I'm hoping he can bounce back and potentially get a playoff spot, because he really has earned it based off of what he's done this season. Just was a really tough game for Seth Martinez. That was a fun game. And now moving on to Game 4, the Sunday matinee, the game that I tried to watch at the same time as a Texans game and then had to come on to do a podcast. So, these games, for sure, I'm used to watching them and studying them a little bit closer. So I always say that I watch all of the games and read all of the things so that you don't have to. So I'm kind of feeling like I didn't get to analyze it quite as well as I wanted to today. But we're still, of course, going to talk about it. The Angels have enough to avoid the sweep here against the Houston Astros, and the Astros just don't have enough to hold them off as they lose the game 9-8. They spoiled their spaghetti yet again, another spoiled spaghetti start, and this was a tough one for the bullpen. The bullpen is definitely going to have to bounce back after the Angels kind of put the hurt on them in this game. This is kind of one of those games that you're like, you got to give the credit to the Angels for fighting through this series, fairly well. I think, it's just all teams can be good baseball teams. You can't take your opponent for granted. I'm not saying the Astros did or anything like that. They just had a rough bullpen game and just were not able to get enough hits at the end of the game to get it done. The Astros took the lead early. Unfortunately, after Spencer Arrighetti was knocked out of the game, the bullpen just was not able to hold a lead. And while the Astros scored 2 runs in the 8th and 2 runs in the 9th, it just was not enough to overcome a bad bullpen performance in this game. But let's talk about Spaghetti first. Spaghetti went 6 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits. That was 2 runs and 2 earned runs, picking up a quality start, striking out 6 batters in this game and giving up 1 home run. So Spaghetti had the stuff. Once again, Spaghetti had a solid outing, just was not able to be picked up by his offense. It used to be that Justin Verlander was never picked up by his offense. In this past game, for the first time, his defense really picked him up in that loss. Well, we didn't lose the game, but in that really tough outing for Justin Verlander, the Astros won the game, but kind of felt like a losing effort from JV, even though it was contributing to a win. So why I mistakenly said that, but yeah, I think it was good to see him get some run support and defense in that game. But Spencer Arrighetti, definitely has had some tough losses on the season, and this one it ranks high up there because we really were hoping to get the sweep of the Angels, especially after the Texas Rangers did us a solid and beat the Seattle Mariners. The Texas Rangers might not be able to repeat. They might be a pretender, but they still like to play spoiler. We appreciate our little brothers to the north doing a little damage against the Seattle Mariners, but the Astros weren't able to hold up their end of the bargain and lost this game. Their magic number would have went down to 1. It's 2 instead, but we'll get to that later. I guess right now let's kind of check in with the offense in this game. It was another good offensive performance. Just in this game, just not enough to outlast the numbers put up by the Angels. 9 runs is a lot to overcome, but you love to see the Astros go out there and fight and try to get a way to win this game, try to win it late. That is playoff style baseball. No matter who your opponent is, no matter what the date is, you still try to finish a game and you still try to win it. They played all the way to the end, and they were competing. This was good to see, even though they did not pick up the win. This type of a game is a playoff lesson. This is the type of game that reminds these players, if the game is tight, if the game is coming down to the wire, you kind of need to not expand the zone, to keep the game close and to pick up some hits. And, if you can hit the long ball, great. But overall, station-to-station baseball can be a way to win playoff games. And they just didn't have enough. And Pena, it was so close. We were one wild pitch away or passed ball away from winning. Pena swung outside the zone on the last swing for sure. But, overall, I liked what the Astros did in their effort to win this game. Jose Altuve got a hit. Yordan Alvarez got a hit. Finally, they had a tough couple games there. Altuve went 1 for 4, picking up an RBI, a walk, and 2 runs. Altuve hit his 20th home run in the 5th inning off of Canning in the 5th. Yeah, sorry, I was double checking that note. Yeah, it was off of Canning in the 5th. He hit his 20th home run, having a 2020 season. Definitely the first player in quite some time of his age to do that. So happy to root on Jose Altuve finding a home run, also finding his bat again and contributing. Yordan Alvarez was 2 for 2 in this game. Yordan was pulled from this game with after a double going into second and kind of limped off the field. He was pulled and replaced by Dubon. We are hoping that there's nothing wrong with Yordan. Obviously, it goes without saying, without Yordan Alvarez, this team would be significantly different. So, if you went to church today, if you didn't go to church today, either way, pray for Yordan. We need Yordan to be healthy. We need him on this team. Tucker was in the lineup as well. He worked 2 walks but didn't get any hits. Breggy had a big game. He was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, scoring 3 runs, only striking out once. Breggy hit his 25th Wild Soul of the season. That is a rebranded Breggy bomb for those of you who don't know. So that was wonderful from Breggy. Yainer Diaz had another multi-hit game, but he also had another 3-hit game, going 3 for 5, getting 2 RBIs. Caratini was 1 for 5 with an RBI as well. Pena was 1 for 4. He walked once. That last strikeout of the game was his only strikeout, but really hurt. Jason Hayward 0 for 2. Jake Myers had a tough one, going 0 for 4 in this game. In that last game, we called out Like a Good Neighbor, and Jake from Rake Farm was there. In this game, it was a tougher one for Jake. Overall, the Astros were 4 for 11 with men in running position and scoring position, and left 8 on base. Obviously, just one more hit with runners in scoring position would have done it. 4 for 11, not exactly the perfect number, maybe, but obviously not enough. And the offense was so close, but just couldn't get it done in this game. It was tough. Shea Whitcomb came into this game for a pinch hit RBI. I do want to mention as well, he had a big moment in this game. You like to see that. I think this team, the way Joe Espada manages it, there's lots of pinch hits. So, for the playoffs, we're going to want a lot of these people ready to go up there and get some pinch hits. Whitcomb got a pinch hit, and I remember, I think it was in a previous game, Salazar got a pinch hit that got down. It's good to see these young players go up there and get some experience pitch hitting, because they are going to need that for the Astros playoff run, because I'm sure there's going to be some pinch hits all over the place with Joe Espada and the way he manages. Let's check in with Paul's Pen Pals, going to the bullpen here. After Spencer Arrighetti pitched 6 great innings, in the 7th inning, Heart Attack Hector came in. He did pick up his 6th hold of the season, but he was only able to go 1/3 of an inning, giving up 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 of them earned, and only getting 1 strikeout. It was tough, and then to replace him, we had Brian Abreu. Brian Abreu ended up not only pitching that 7th inning, but went into the 8th inning as well. Brian Abreu doing okay, but definitely not well enough to help win this game, giving up a hit, giving up 1 run and 1 earned run, and giving up, obviously, that 1 earned run coming off of a home run that he gave up. I mean, 1 2/3 of an inning without that home run was exactly what the doctor ordered, but unfortunately that home run made this his 7th blown save of the season and put the Angels within striking distance to really put this game away. And then Hader came in the 9th. He was only able to pitch 1/3 of an inning, picking up his 8th loss of the season and his 4th blown save, giving up 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, and giving away 2 walks. Those walks really made him pay. There has been, in the past, Hader has dealt with some location issues at times. Hopefully, him and the Astros can figure out how they can get him to throw some more competitive pitching, because those walks really won the game for the Angels. I'm not going to put all of the loss on the game for Hader, obviously, for those walks, but I'm saying I'm not going to say he lost the game, but the Angels won the game on those walks, that's for sure. Brian King had to finish the inning for Josh Hader, rookie lefty coming in to try to clean up the mess. He ended up going 2/3 of an inning, picking up a strikeout, and that's all she wrote for Houston Astros pitching in this game. It happens to the best of athletes. These closers go up there and they're always in big situations. The fact that this is his 4th blown save of the season is kind of incredible. He just picked up his 33rd save. He is him. This just was a tough game. He had some location issues. Those walks will, any team will make you pay for those walks. So this is a playoff lesson for this bullpen. This is a playoff lesson for those hitters, that when the game goes back to you and it's a volleyball match where it's just going back and forth, you have to keep the pressure on those pitchers and get more runs. That, this is how you do it. Or in this game they didn't have enough. But I think this is a good lesson for these Astros, as they're reminded of what is going to be in store for them in the playoffs. That Padres series was rough for them and for us as fans, but also was a great reminder. I think they came into this Angel series hungry and ready to play some playoff baseball despite who they may be playing against. And these Angels had some great competition. They gave these Astros a run for their money to make sure that this was a competitive series. They played their part. They won the last game, and they deserve that win. I'm not mad at the Astros. I just think that this is a good lesson for them to kind of not expand that strike zone in those big moments, and to get those hits, to pass the baton. And, not everybody is going to be a home run hitter. Don't go up there thinking to hit the home run. Take what the playoff pitchers give you. These pitchers are going to be incredible in the playoffs. You can't go up there looking to hit a grand slam. You have to go up there looking to do damage with the best pitch that the pitcher throws you. And doing that, you have to not swing outside the zone. I say that as if I know how to do it. I'm just talking philosophically how you do it. So hopefully the Astros can bring that philosophy that will help them win in the playoffs. This was a tough lesson and a tough loss for them. So, with that being said, let's kind of move on to their magic number. Their magic number is now 2. However, tomorrow, the Astros are playing against the Seattle Mariners. So that is the team that we're trying to keep out of the AL West the AL West title. So that 2 is essentially 1 now. So if we would have won the game, the magic number would have been 1, and all we would have needed to do was win 1 game. However, since we're playing Seattle directly, 2, the magic number being 2 essentially is 1, because if we win the game, they also lose the game. So that's 1 win for us, 1 loss for them, and that would make our magic number 0, and we win the division. That's not a tall ask to win 1 game against the Seattle Mariners at home. I'm sure the Astros can do this. I'm not worried about it, but the Seattle Mariners are going to be feisty. They are going to be chirpy. They are not going to be happy about this series. I'm not saying like there's an over under or I guess I should say I'm not going to say there's a prop bet on this team actually having a benches clearing moment. But tensions are going to be high. I can tell you that. This team is not going to just roll over for the Houston Astros. They're going to battle them tooth and nail. And this is going to be I think this is going to be a great series. And the fact that we need to win it, but the fact that we only need just 1 game right now feels good. Now, obviously, if the Astros lose, that's going to extend the season and put the pressure on the Astros. It could even open the door for the Seattle Mariners to find a wild card berth. Yeah, I'm not saying the Astros to just not stress and be okay with just taking 1 game here. But the Astros don't have as much pressure on them, I think, as the Seattle Mariners have pressure on them to kind of play tough baseball against this rival and play for pride. The Astros, obviously, I think if they win that first game against Seattle, there's a good chance that they can rest their rotation a bit. So that is incentive for them to win, but I don't think the pressure is on them to win. So I feel good about the Astros winning this series against Seattle. Let's kind of check in with their pitchers real quick. Or I guess, this is kind of supposed to be the AL West Chase watch here. So the Astros are now 85-71 on the season. The Seattle Mariners are 80-76. Obviously 5 games behind us right now. The wild card standings, the Seattle Mariners are 2 games behind the Royals in the wild card standings right now. So they definitely not only have pride to play for against an opponent like the Astros, who they completely despise, but they have a chance at getting into the wild card. So they're going to be playing pretty feisty. Hunter Brown will go to the mound for the Houston Astros in the first game tomorrow at Minute Maid Park. He's 11-8 with a 3.57 ERA, 171 strikeouts on the season. He is going up against Bryce Miller, who is 11-8 on the season with a 3.06 ERA and 166 strikeouts. The Tuesday game is going to be a big TBD from the Seattle Mariners. Right now, the Houston Astros have Framber Valdez lined up to pitch, who is 14-7 with a 2.85 ERA and 165 strikeouts. Like I said, I think that will remain the case unless the Astros win that first game and want to give Framber a nice rest so that he's nice and rested for that wild card game. In the third game, once again, the Seattle Mariners have TBD set up to pitch, and the Houston Astros have one more Kikuchi game. I am excited about this. I think he is going to pitch amazingly in this game because he's been pitching amazingly all season. I have loved watching all of the Astros starting pitchers as of late. Even JV, I'm still rooting for him. I know it's been tough, but Kikuchi is 9-9 on the season with a 4.19 ERA and 198 strikeouts. I think he's going over 200 strikeouts for sure, but that'll still be fun to watch in that last game. And after that series, the Astros have a day off on Thursday. Finally, it feels like they haven't had a day off, and it feels like I haven't had a day off in so long. The Astros have that Thursday day off. We'll probably have an off-day goof-off podcast on Thursday, and then they play Cleveland on the road to finish up this season. The Astros are looking good, folks. They're in a good spot. I know it's tough to lose this game when we wanted the sweep. We wanted to just keep things on easy street and not stress and sweat. But the Astros all season long have been the CNC music factory because they're going to make you sweat. Let's go ahead and move on from baseball for now, folks. That has been a lot of baseball talk, but let's talk about your Houston Texans in what happened? What happened to your Houston Texans, folks? This has been a tough day for Houston fans. That is for sure. The Houston Texans went to Minnesota today, and they lost their morning game and are back to the drawing board as the Houston Texans lose 7-34 to the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, a tough pick from me. I said that this would be a Texans win, and boy, oh boy, was I wrong. I said that this would be a scheming game, an offensive schemes versus defensive scheme. The Minnesota Vikings coaches really seem to out-coach the Houston Texans here in this game. Oh, Carla's leaving the room. She has been disgusted by this football game today. The sports day. Look, she's a young fan. She's used to excellence. She was born in the golden era of Houston Astros baseball. She has not known that many bad Texans seasons. She thinks that she's just supposed to win all the time, so she is pretty pouty, and so am I. I mean, it was a tough performance. I mean, truly, when I picked the Houston Texans to win, I was under the impression that Joe Mixon was going to be playing for this team, was going to start this game. But without Joe Mixon, and to a lesser extent without Dameon Pierce, the brunt of the running game really fell to Cam Akers. And the Houston Texans only mustered 38 rushing yards in this game. Not only was the rushing bad, but the offensive line play was just bad. There were 3 consecutive false start calls against the Houston Texans offensive line. The penalties, I believe they had 11 penalties in this game. 11. The spinal tap special all the way up to 11. That's good for 88 penalty yards. And on top of that, C.J. Stroud, who is usually very protective of the football, he's as protective of the football as I am about Carla or sketch comedy. He is not giving that football away. There were 2 interceptions on this game. Not only was the defensive scheming good against the Houston Texans' run and offensive line, but obviously against the pass, forcing 2 interceptions and getting that turnover game going against the Houston Texans. The time of possession was fairly similar. The Texans had 258 passing yards, which, they had more offensive yards and more plays called than the Minnesota Vikings. It was those turnovers, it was those penalties, it was scheming. I still want to go back and watch this game. Like I said, having to kind of watch it kind of distracted was tough, but I had to do this podcast today. I had to kind of watch both at the same time to be able to do this today. Stephon Diggs, he had 10 receptions and 94 yards. Nico Collins had 4 receptions and 86 yards. Tank Dell, he got me in the mix a little more, getting 5 receptions on 62 yards. The interceptions, Kaimi Fairbairn missed a field goal. It just didn't feel like our day. It felt like we just got surprised by the Minnesota Vikings who knew what to do against us and to make the Texans look a little foolish. I think the Texans bounce back. Something that, back to the drawing board, as Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans said. Here it is. D'Amico Ryan's quote today. Quote, "We can't harp on it. We'll watch it tomorrow." I mean, me too, D'Amico. "We'll learn from the mistakes. It's all about what do you learn from this loss. You learn and you make the proper corrections for the next week. We should play better next week." I think this is the way to do it. We're still early in the season. Everybody's going to have an overreaction. There's going to be a lot of people, and not just in the AFC South, that are going to say that the Texans are pretenders. The Texans weren't quite as good as we thought they were going to be. But I think it's truly because a lot of people were very bullish on the Texans, and they're still a team figuring it out. Texas offensive coordinator Slowick and D'Amico Ryans, they're figuring out a lot of this schematic stuff. They kind of got pushed around in this game. I'm figuring that they're going to bounce back. They're going to watch the tape and figure out what they did wrong. I think Joe Mixon being back in the mix will be helpful. I think figuring out how they can use Cam Akers in the meantime will be helpful as well. I think at the end of the day, my biggest complaint right now, from where I've been and how I watch the game and from what I've seen, is just penalties and turnovers. I love old school defensive football games. But I also like this new kind of spreading the ball around thing too. But I think at the end of the day, offensive line play, defensive line play, and not turning the ball over truly is one of the best keys to winning football games. Consistency and just old school play on the line of scrimmage and dominating the line is a good way to start when you're looking to win football games. False starts, penalties, bad offensive line play, not being able to establish a running game are ways to lose a football game. So, obviously the Texans coaches know this a whole lot more than I do, and they know how to motivate those players to do so. Hopefully they will be able to bounce back from this game, figure out a way to have less penalties, and to be able to establish that running game, to not put the pressure on C.J. Stroud to keep making tough passes and potentially turn the ball over more. We need to protect that football. We need to establish a running game. We're doing pretty good with time of possession and getting first downs and getting a lot of play time. But it's despite the offensive line play right now. Hopefully, as the week goes on, I will watch the game again on Wednesday. I'll come back. We'll talk some more Texans. At that point, I'll be able to go maybe a little further in depth, give you an injury report. The injuries haven't been good. But that is football. There's always going to be a lot of injuries in football. The Texans will hopefully bounce back from this performance. Next week, they are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm pulling up the schedule right now to double check that. That is going to be, that's regular. Week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is a standard time, 10 a.m. For me, 12 for y'all out there in Central Time. And let's see. And so now let's take a quick pick to Dynamo Corner. So the Dynamo Corner, this is a segment. I always joke that we follow all the Houston sports team, but the Dynamo actually won against Austin FC on the 21st this week. They are 13-8-9 on the season. If they would have won that game, and if Dallas would have lost, they would have clinched the playoffs. They haven't quite clinched yet, but with 48 points now, they have jumped ahead of the Seattle Sounders and the Vancouver Whitecaps for 5th place in the West with 48 points. So they're looking pretty solid to go into the playoffs at this point. They just need to keep playing well. They scored, oh my goodness, sorry, I'm all over the place here. In that game, they ended up winning 1-0 from Carrasquilla goal towards the end there. For their schedule, looking ahead, the Houston Dynamo are actually going to play the Seattle Sounders on Saturday. Next Saturday, they're going to play the Seattle Sounders in Seattle. So that will be a playoff type matchup that we can watch as Houston Dynamo fans. With that, this has been a long podcast. as much as I do want to check in with my picks, I think a huge part of me does not want to check in with my picks. At this point in the day, on Sunday in the afternoon, I am currently 4-9 for week 3. I am not too happy with the Giants, with the Browns, the Colts, the Texans. I mean, that Saints game was crazy. The Bucks? I don't even know. Yeah, I am shook by this week. Even the Panthers won a game. I don't know what is happening right now, folks. So I definitely am having a tough one. But we will check in with my picks on Wednesday. So that Wednesday will be the NFL Paul's Picks, and Thursday we're going to do an off-day goof-off, so we're going to have 2 podcasts back-to-back coming up this week, and look out for that. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and call it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Especially thank you to Uncle Joey. Thank you to Cousin Terry. People that have supported me with those annual subscriptions, and everybody that just who listens to the podcast. Thank you so much. You don't have to subscribe. If you could be so kind as to hit some buttons for me. Smash that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Give me a 5-star review if you got to this point of the podcast. I think you like it. Maybe you consider giving me a 5-star review on wherever you are listening to this podcast on. Please share this with other Houston fans that you know are out there that need some hope, need some love. Spread the good word for me. Check out my Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can put your email into that field there. You get every post, every article, every meme dump, and podcast emailed directly to you for free. That doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to pay anything to get all of the content here during the season on that Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com, or you can download the Substack app. Search Space Cadet Sports, click that you want notifications instead of emails, and now you just have it on the mobile experience. You don't have to worry about those emails. You just follow along on the app. Or reach out on social media if you want to let me know your opinions. That's at Paul Salazar Jr. on all social media platforms. I respond back as quick as I can, definitely on all the cool ones there. Or you can leave me a voicemail at SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Let me know your take. Let me know what you think of JV, what you think of the playoff rotation. Let me know what you think of the Houston Dynamo playoff odds. Let me know how sad you are about the Texans losing this game against the Minnesota Vikings. All of that can be left for me on a voicemail and maybe even make the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, folks. I really appreciate all of you out there, not just Cousin Terry and Uncle Joey, all of you who listen. Really, thank you so much for the support. We are a small podcast. This is a passion project, but we only go as far as you take us. So thank you for sharing us with friends. Thank you for loving the podcast and spreading that love to me. I really, really do appreciate it. It was a tough day, but remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.